Okay, we're carrying on today. Lion reading chapter 4, which is called Bertie and the Lion. One morning, a week or so later, Bertie was woken by a chorus of urgent neighing. He jumped out of his bed and ran to the window. A herd of zebras was scattering away from the waterhole, chased by a couple of hyenas. Then he saw more hyenas, 3 of them, standing stock still, noses pointing, eyes fixed on the waterhole. It was only now that Bertie saw the lion cub. But this one wasn't white at all. He was covered in mud, with his back to the waterhole, and he was waving a pathetic paw at the hyenas who were beginning to circle. The lion cub had nowhere to run to, and the hyenas were sidling ever closer. Bertie was downstairs in a flash, leaping off the veranda and racing barefoot across the compound, shouting at the top of his voice. He threw open the gate and charged down the hill towards the waterhole, yelling and screaming and waving his arms like a wild thing. Startled at this sudden intrusion, the hyenas turned tail and ran, but not far. Once within range, Bertie hurled a broadside of pebbles at them, and they ran off again, but again not far. Then he was at the waterhole and between the lion cub and the hyenas, shouting at them to go away. They didn't. They stood and watched, uncertain for a while. Then they began to circle again, closer, closer. That was when the shot rang out. The hyenas bolted into the long grass and were gone. When Bertie turned around, he saw his mother in her nightgown, rifle in hand, running towards him. He had never seen her run before. Between them they gathered up the mud-matted cub and brought him home. He was too weak to struggle, though he tried. As soon as they had given him some warm milk, they dunked him in the bath to wash him. As the first of the mud came off, Bertie saw that he was white underneath. "You see," he cried triumphantly. "He is white. He is. I told you, didn't I? He's my white lion." His mother still could not bring herself to believe it. 5 baths later, she had to. They sat him down by the stove in the washing basket and fed him again, all the milk he could drink, and he drank the lot. Then he lay down and slept. He was still asleep when Bertie's father got back at lunchtime. They told him how it had all happened. "Please, father, I want to keep him," Bertie said. "And so do I," said his mother. "We both do." And she spoke as Bertie had never heard her speak before, her voice strong, determined. Bertie's father didn't seem to know quite how to reply. He just said, "We'll talk about it later," and then he walked out. They did talk about it later when Bertie was supposed to be in bed. He wasn't, though. He heard them arguing. He was outside the sitting room door, watching, listening. His father was pacing up. "He'll grow up, you know," he was saying. "You can't keep a grown lion, you know that. And you know we can't just throw him back to the hyenas," replied his mother. "He needs us, and maybe we need him. He'll be someone for Bertie to play with for a while." And then she added sadly, "After all, it's not as if he's going to have any brothers or sisters, is it?" At this, Bertie's father went over to her and kissed her gently on the forehead. It was the only time Bertie had ever seen him kiss her. "All right then," he said. "All right, you can keep your lion." So the white lion cub came to live amongst them in the farmhouse. He slept at the end of Bertie's bed. Wherever Bertie went, the lion cub went too, even to the bathroom, where he would watch Bertie have his bath and lick his legs dry afterwards. They were never apart. It was Bertie who saw to the feeding, milk 4 times a day from one of his father's beer bottles, until later on when the lion cub lapped from a soup bowl. There was impala meat whenever he wanted it, and as he grew, and he grew fast, he wanted more and more of it. For the first time in his life, Bertie was totally happy. The lion cub was all the brothers and sisters he could ever want, all the friends he could ever need. The 2 of them would sit side by side on the sofa out on the veranda and watch the great red sun go down over Africa, and Bertie would read him Peter and the Wolf, and at the end he would always promise him that he would never let him go off to a zoo and live behind bars like the wolf in the story. And the lion cub would look up at Bertie with his trusting amber eyes. "Why don't you give him a name?" his mother asked one day. Because he doesn't need one, replied Bertie. He's a lion, not a person. Lions don't need names. Bertie's mother was always wonderfully patient with the lion, no matter how much mess he made, how many cushions he pounced on and ripped apart, no matter how much crockery he smashed. None of it seemed to upset her, and strangely, she was hardly ever ill these days. There was a spring to her step, and her laughter pealed around the house. His father was less happy about it. Lions, he muttered on, should not live in houses. You should keep them outside in the compound. You should keep him outside in the compound. But they never did. For both mother and son, the lion had brought a new life to their days. Life and laughter. Okay, your 5 questions are: list all the phrases which describe movement of animals on page 29. So there was quite a few. See if you can list them all. Why did Bertie run to the waterhole? What did Bertie and his mum do with the cub when they got home? Why did Bertie's dad let them keep the lion cub? And what did the lion cub eat and drink? Your sentence stems. Make sure you answer in full sentences. Pause the video while you have a go and then press play to go through the answers. Okay, so the phrases which describe movement. Words or phrases are scattering, chased, beginning to circle, waving a pathetic paw and sidling over on page 29. Question 2, Bertie ran to the waterhole to save the lion cub from the hyenas. Question 3, when they got home, Bertie and his mum gave the lion cub some milk and washed him in the bath. Question 4, Bertie's dad let them keep the lion cub as he and Bertie's mum were not going to have any more children. They couldn't have any more children, could they? And question 5, the lion cub ate impala meat and drank milk. Your 3 brain power questions. Why do you think Michael Morpurgo, so remember Michael Morpurgo is our author, why do you think he uses italics when Bertie is talking to his mum on page 31? Okay. Question 7, do you think Bertie's mum is a strong character usually? Why do you think this? Give examples from the text. Use page 32 to help you with that one. And question 8, on page 34 it says, for the first time in his life, Bertie was totally happy. Why do you think he has been unhappy until this point? Okay, use your sentence stems, write in full sentences, pause the video while you have a go. Okay, question 6, why does Michael Morpurgo use italics? C. Let's find the italics when Bertie's talking to his mum. There it is. He is white. He is. Okay, so it's only the word is that's in italics, but it does give us quite a bit of information about how Bertie is talking to his mum. Okay, as do the exclamation marks. As do the way that he doesn't just say, you see, he said. He cried triumphantly. Okay, triumphantly means he's really happy, almost like he's won something. Okay, I think Michael Morpurgo uses italics because it emphasises, okay, that Bertie was telling the truth earlier in the story when he told his mum and his mum didn't believe him. Okay, Michael Morpurgo uses these italics to emphasise that, okay, to emphasise that he was right. So we would read that from here as, you see, he cried triumphantly, he is white. He is. I told you, didn't I? Okay, so it's almost like he's proving to his mom that he was right and she was wrong to not believe him. Question 7. Do you think Bertie's mum is a strong character usually? Use 32 to help you. We know from reading previously in the book, earlier on in the book, that Bertie's mum normally just goes along with what Bertie's dad says. So Bertie's dad said you can't go out of the compound. And no matter how many times Bertie asks his mum, she says no. She said, no, what would your father say? Your father won't allow that. So she usually just agrees with the dad, is the impression that I get as the reader. And then when they have got the lion, you can see on page 32, the mum stands up to the dad and says, so do I, we both do. And it says here, Bertie had never heard her speak before. She spoke as Bertie had never heard her speak before. So he'd not heard her speak in this tone before. It said her voice was strong and her voice was determined. Okay, so that means that she is sticking up for what she believes in. Okay, she's standing up for what she believes in. She believes that this lion should stay in their house. Okay, and she is willing to fight for it. Okay, before we got the impression that she was quite weak. Okay, she was ill quite a lot of the time. She was weak. She didn't stand up to the dad. She didn't fight for what she believed in. Whereas on this page, this little section here, we are getting that impression. Okay. And question 8. For the first time in his life, Bertie was totally happy. Page 34. Where is it? Last paragraph down here. Oops. For the first time in his life, Bertie was totally happy. Why do you think he'd been unhappy until this point? For this, there's no actual quotes you might want to use some quotes from earlier on in the text. But just have a think about what sort of life Bertie leads. Okay. He's quite alone. We've already spoken about this. He's lonely. He's got no friends. He's got no family. Okay. His mum, who he spends most of his time with, is sometimes happy, sometimes not. In fact, most of the time not. Most of the time she's not, and she's poorly. So he must have a pretty lonely and pretty miserable time, okay? It wouldn't be very fun, I don't think, at this point to be Bertie. So, I think that's why he's been unhappy until that point in his life. But the lion cub that's come along has changed that, and it's made him and his mum quite happy.
Good morning, Year 3. Welcome back. I hope you had a good night last night. Before we get on with today's learning, we are going to just mark yesterday's work. So if you've got your book open and ready with a different coloured pencil or pen, and we'll go through yesterday's Do It. Okay, so number 1 was to put these dates in order from earliest to latest in a year. Okay, so we know that January is the first day of the month, so I think we were probably trying to trick you there with December, because I know sometimes you think December is the first of the month, or first month in the year, or September, because that's when we start school in a new class year, but it is not. It is January. So I'm just going to put numbers underneath because I won't be able to write it all out. So that's number 1. And then second, we've got 2 months here in March. Again, it's trying to trick you, and you just had to work out how early in March, which is the earliest. So second is first before 3, so that would be the second date in the year. Then 3rd of March would be 3rd, and then 1st of December. Well, December's the last month of the year, although the 1st is at the start of the month, but that is latest out of that little bunch. Okay, so you should have January 31st, 2nd of March, 3rd of March, 1st December, in that order. Okay, number 2, you had to find what the date would be a week later. Now, a week is 7 days, so I've just got here for you my calendar. So the date was 27th of June. Okay, so I'm going to go to June. Okay, now June is 30 days in September, April, June and November. So there's 30 days in June. So when we've got the 27th here, you've only got another 3 days until it's in the next month. Okay, so you've got 27, and then the following week will still be a Saturday. Okay, so this would be the date a week later. Okay, if you count on 7 days from the 27th, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so it would be the 4th of July. Okay, so all you had to write in this box, hopefully you drew the little table, 4th July. Okay, then 19th of March, have a look at the calendar again. Let's get rid of all those marks. Oh my goodness. Don't do that. Okay, what was it? 17th of March? No, 19th of March. Okay, so this is March here, and 19th of March is there. Okay, so a week later. Now this one's nice because it's not going to go into the next month, so we could just jump down because that's on a Thursday, well in 2020 anyway, it's on a Thursday, so we can just go on to the following Thursday, which would be the 28th. Okay, it's the one straight underneath it. Double check that by counting on 7 days. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we March 28th. Or 28th of March. Okay, there we go. So which month comes after July? So we've got January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. Okay, August. Now we always tend to finish school in July and then we're off school for all of August normally. So yeah, August is the month that comes after July. Then what is the day that comes after December 31st? Now this one I was trying to trick you. It is not December the 32nd. Okay, December the 31st is the last day of the month in December. Okay, after Christmas. That's New Year's Eve because the next day is not only a new year, well, so not only a new month, but also a new year. Okay, so the next day would be this one. Okay, the 1st of January, January the 1st. So January 1st. So well done if I didn't trick you there. Sorry if I did. Okay, so you'll secure it then. So Mo's birthday. My birthday is the first day of the second month. Okay, so let's go. You can look back at our calendar. First day of the second month. Okay, so let me just get rid of all my scribbles on here. This is the first month. Okay, January. This is the second month, February. And so it's the first day of the second month. So his birthday is the 1st of February. Okay. So I'm just going to put Feb first. Okay. We know that Teddy is the 15th of June. So I'm just going to put June 15th. Eva, I was born the last day of the year. Now we've just looked at that in our Do It, which is December. I'm just going to do it short. December the 31st. New Year's Eve. Okay, December 31st. And Dora, she was born 2 days before Mo. Now this is a tricky one. Okay, so Mo was born on February the 1st. I'm going to go back to my calendar. So February the 1st. But Dora was born 2 days. Did it say that? 2 days. Yes, 2 days before Mo. Now, that's the 1st. So the day before that is the last day of January. So that's 1 day before, 2 days before. Okay, so she was born on January 30th. That's a tricky one. There we go. Then we have to put them in order from the birthdays from earliest to latest. So the earliest one will be the oldest person and the latest one will be the youngest person. So let's have a little look. Which of those then? I'm going to do it in different colours so we can see it nice and clearly. I'm just going to do it on the other side. So which of those months is first in the year? January is. So Dora, her birthday is the earliest. So January, and then we have February is the second month. So that's Mo. And then June would be the next one. And then December is the last month in the year. So that would be the latest. Okay. So it would be Dora, Mo, Teddy, and Eva. Well done if you got those right, guys. Okie dokie then. Here is today's date and LO for you. Let me just check that is the right date actually. Yes, it is. Yes, so Tuesday the 5th of May 2020, and we're now going to have a look at hours in a day. So not specific, we're still going to be having a look at days of the week and days in the month, but we're also thinking about what makes a day and talking a bit about night as well. Okay, so I'm just going to be exploring that today. So pause now so you can write that down. Super. Okay. Firstly then, I want you to have a little think. What do we know so far? Or what do you know already? There are how many hours in a day? And there are how many hours in a school day. Now that's on average a normal school day when we are at school, not necessarily homeschooling. Okay, so hours in a day, well done if you know this. If you don't, then you're about to learn it. There are 24 hours in a whole day. Okay, so today is the 5th of May, Tuesday the 5th. So Tuesday the 5th, it will last for 24 hours. And after those 24 hours, it becomes Wednesday the 6th. Okay, you're not awake for all of those 24 hours because although we say it's a day, we've also, that includes during the night time as well. Okay, there are how many hours in a school day? So normally when we're at school, on average, it's about 6 hours. So we're not, if you think about the 24 hours in a day, we're on average for about 6 hours if you take out break times and lunch times and everything. Yeah, okay. So now I want you to have a little think about what things happen at different points in the day. So we have a morning, and then have an afternoon, evening, and then nighttime. Now I'm not going to be very specific in terms of exactly when evening and night begins and ends, but in terms of the morning, afternoon is when it gets to the middle of the day. So anything after 12 o'clock I would class as afternoon, and morning is from before then. So underneath, I've got a few different things that we do during the day. Not necessarily every day. Some of these things we won't do every day, but different things that we do throughout the day. And we have to think about whether we do those things in the morning, afternoon, evening, or night. Okay, so we're just thinking about when the times of things happen during the day. So the first thing we've got is breakfast. When do we have breakfast? Hopefully you've said in the morning, unless it's, I can't remember what day of the week it is it Thursday? No, I can't remember when we have all day breakfast at school for lunch, and then in which case sometimes we can have our breakfast in an afternoon, or if you like a brunch. I quite like a breakfast for tea sometimes, so you could put that on an evening if you wanted to, but normal breakfast is in the morning. Okay, next I'm going to go to this one, assembly. Now the reason I've got another assembly there is because it depends what day it is. When would we have assembly if it's on a Monday? Well, normally we'd have it in a morning. Okay, we have it Monday morning, but then we also, on a Monday, have it, we have singing practice with me, don't we, in the afternoon? But then also, when do we have it on a Friday? That's also on the afternoon. So we sometimes have assembly in the morning, and sometimes we have it in an afternoon. And now we've got this one, go to school. At what point do we go, when in the day do we go to school? Go to school at night, in the evening, in the afternoon, or in the morning? Now, if you're in nursery or in explorers, that might change actually. Some children in explorers come to school in the afternoon, but in year 3, I'm going to move this around actually. We go to school in the morning. Okay, then we might have assembly. Right, okay, next one, midday. When does midday happen? Okay, does midday, now if your little word detectors, you can see that it's got middle, and it's got the word day there, so it's middle of the day. So it's not going to be at the night time. Evening is later in the day. Morning is at the start of the day. So midday is when afternoon begins, okay? Bedtime. Now, this depends on your bedtime. Evening, I would class as being between about 4:30 in the afternoon until, I don't know, maybe about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and then for me, that then becomes nighttime as soon as it gets dark, really, which changes throughout the year. So bedtime, depending on what time you go to bed, it might be evening, it might be nighttime, okay? So I'll pop that one in the middle. But midnight, okay, if midday is the middle of the day, okay, 12 o'clock midday, when would midnight be? It's the middle of the night, that's midnight. That's when the day actually changes and becomes the next day. So midnight, it happens during night time. Now brushing teeth, I've got more than one brushing teeth, because how many times a day should we brush our teeth? We should be brushing our teeth every morning. Or should I pick that one? And let's do it. We can do it after breakfast. So our teeth end up being clean for the day. And before you go to bed. So it depends what time you go to bed. But I'd maybe just put that there before brushing. Before you go to bed, you brush your teeth. Okay. So we've got a nice little table there, with a bit of a timetable, getting you thinking about different points of the day. Okay. So now then, we've got a little tester about days in April, hours in 3 days, and days in 2 weekends. So just to test you a little bit. Again, you don't have to do this in your book. I'm just going to match it up on here. So see if you can do it as I do it, or just before I say it. Okay, so how many days are there in April? So think back to the song. 30 days have September, April, June, and November. All the rest have 31. Okay, so how many days are there in April? There are 30. Okay, now hours in 3 days. Well, how many hours are there in 1 day? 24. Okay, and we're seeing how many hours there are in 3 days. So that's 3 lots of 24. 3 lots of 2 is 6, which means 3 lots of 20 is 60. And 3 lots of 4, 3 times 4 is 12. So 60 of 12, or 60 of 2 is 2, and there we go. So it's 72. So how many days are there in 2 weekends? Well, there's 2 days in 1 weekend. So in 2 weekends, 2 lots of 4. Sorry, 2 lots of 2 is 4. Okay, well done if you got those before I did. Okay, there are how many days in 5 weeks? Okay, so, well, how many days are there in 1 week? There's 7. And if we're looking at 5 weeks, we're looking at 5 lots of those 7 days. Oh, it's a funny 5, isn't it? Okay, so we all are really, really hot on our 5. So what's 7 lots of 5? 7 times 5? 35. So 35 days in 5 weeks. Now there are 12 what in half a day? Well, if that's half a day, how many? And that's 12. 12 is half. What's double 12? 24. There's 24 what in a day? Hours. So that wasn't after a missing number, that was after a missing word. There are 12 hours. That's the most horrendous handwriting I've ever seen. There are 12 hours in half a day. Okay. Now have a little look at this problem. How many days in this month are not weekend days? Okay, so think about how we can work this out. We know that in this, we don't know which month it is. We can guess, we can have a choice of months because there's 28 days. Okay, so 28 days altogether. However, which of those days are weekend days? Well, here we've got Saturday and Sunday, which means all of these days are weekends. Okay, and we've got 2, 4, 6, 8. So 8 of those days in that month are weekend days. We want to know how many days there are minus the weekend days. So there's 28 altogether. So we know there's 28 days. The last day. We want to get rid of those weekend days, and there's 8 of those. That's 28. Take away that 8. Is it 2? If I get rid of that 8? No. 20. 2 tens. Okay, so you might have a question similar to that later on. Okie dokie. So, for your do it then, it's just getting you thinking about those days, hours, different times of day, days in the month before. Sorry, that's just my laptop telling me something. Tomorrow, sorry, I've lost my train of thought now. Tomorrow we'll be looking at bedtime time. So before we do that, we need to check that we understand sort of a day and what a day is. All right. So if you'll do it, I want you to have a go at putting those events in the correct order from earliest to latest. So what's the first thing? Oh my goodness, it's on fire today, my laptop. Put these events in the correct order from earliest to latest. So you've got bedtime, 2 o'clock, assembly, breakfast. Okay, remember, it might try and trick you. That's absolutely fine. If you think that could be possibly more than one answer, tell me that. Write it in your book. So this is what will be going in your book, okay? You'll do it. So number 1, you're going to put those in order. You can just do them in a list if you want to, or do them going across in a list, that's fine. Number 2, true or false? Breakfast is in the morning. I think that's a nice easy one. Talked about that. Number 3, fill in the blanks. There are how many days in March? There are 48 what? In 2 days. Okay, so we've gone through something very similar to that. And number 4, match the statements to the correct number. So days in August, hours in half a day, and days in 4 weekends. So the potential answers are 8, 31 and 12. So if I were you, I would just write down those 3 and then write down the correct numbers next to it. So you can put an equals like that in your book, okay? Unless you want to draw it out exactly how it looks there and draw it out. I do not mind, as long as it's clear what your answers are. Okay, so pause me now and have a go. You'll do it and then press play and I'll go through the secure it with you. Okay, then you'll secure it. In this month, there are no school holidays. Okay, so have a look at how many days there are. There's 31 days altogether. It doesn't tell us which month it is, but do just check where the days of the month are, because when we're on this one, our Saturday and Sunday were at the end, but the other calendar that we've looked at, it had Sunday here, not here, okay? So do just check. So in this one, there are no school holidays, all right? So look at the top, we've got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, like that. In this month, Teddy says, in this month, we have to come to school for 31 days. Okay, so he thinks in this month, we don't know which month it is, we know there's 31 days altogether. Let's come to school for 31 days. Now, do you agree with Teddy? Explain your thinking. And then have a think, which month could it be? So think about if it's got 31 days, which month could it be? You've got a choice. Okay, so have a go, explain that, write it in your book, and if you'd like to see a picture of your work when you're done, then you can. Well done, guys. Good luck.
Morning, everyone. We're on to our writing today for Tuesday, the 5th of May. So, on to our warm-up activity. This is carrying on with the work that we were doing yesterday, which was all about changing the verb tenses. Now, remember my little trick I said to you, that if you want to change it into the past tense, add the word yesterday, and if you want to change it into the present tense, use the word today in front of the sentences. So what I'd like you to do is have a look at the 2 sentences that I've got for you there, and if it's here, I'd like you to change I drove to work today into the present tense, so today and then I would like you to change Sam is eating the last piece of cake into the past tense, so Sam, the last piece of cake yesterday. Pause the video, have a go at those 2 sentences, come back to me with your answers. Okay, how did you get on with those this morning? Let's have a little look. So, yesterday I drove to work, and today I am driving to work, okay? So the present tense was Sam is eating the last piece of cake. So we're going to change that to Sam ate the last piece of cake, okay? Remembering that we've got our irregular verbs here, driving and drove, ate and eating. So today's learning is all about using the progressive form of verbs, okay? So we're going to have a little look about what that exactly means, and then we're going to have a little go at using it in our writing today. And it's lots and lots of complicated words, but really it's something quite simple. So we know what verbs are. There are actions within a sentence. And we're going to be looking at the progressive form of these verbs. So the progressive means that things continue to happen, okay? They haven't stopped, like when we caught the ball and it's over. Okay, it's more we are catching the ball because it's continuing to happen. Okay, we're going to have a little look at this. Okay, so these things are carrying on happening. She was running. We've got the ing at the end. Alice is balancing. We've got the ing at the end because she's still doing it. She hasn't stopped. And they are playing. Again, we've got that ing at the end. And they are continuing to do that. They are still playing. She's still running. They are still balancing. Okay? And that's what we're going to be looking at in our writing today. So the progressive form is continuous. It means that the action in the sentence, the verb in the sentence, carries on for a period of time. Okay, it's really important because this tells us that sometimes that the same thing was happening at the same time as something else. So let's have a look at this in action. So here's our tortoise. Tom's tortoise was waiting for his lettuce. Okay, it's past tense because it was, not it is, but we know it's waiting for his lettuce. Okay, sometimes it means that we can use this form to show us that he was waiting for it while something else happened. Okay, like this. So Tom's tortoise was waiting when he saw the lawnmower, okay? So he was waiting when he saw something else. So the progressive form of verbs in the past and the present. So let's have a little look, okay? So if we've got he walks, we're going to be making it he is walking if it's going to continue. And we're still going to use the word walking over here, but instead of it being in the past, he is walking, we're going to change that to the past, and it's going to become he was walking. Okay, let's do another example. She runs, okay, so we're going to move it into the present and make it progressive. So she runs, it means it's finished, but she is running means that she carries on doing it. And if we want to put that now back into the past tense, we're going to change our is to a was, and what's that going to be? She was running. Fantastic. Well done, everybody. Okay, the dog whines. See if we can spot the pattern. We've added the is in as we've moved it into the present progressive. It's going to carry on. The dog is whining. Okay, the dog is whining. And if we change that to the past tense, we've now got the dog was whining. Okay, one more example with this. We listen. Okay. Now, can it be we is listening? Does that sound right? We is listening. No, you're absolutely right. It must be we are listening. We are listening. Well done. So instead of changing it from is to was, I wonder now if you can guess how we change we are listening to we listening. What verb am I going to change it to? We are listening becomes we were listening. Well done. That's really, really tricky one. Okay. So we move from the present all the way into the past, just like the little dogs just moved on the screen. Okay, let's have a little look. So the progressive form of verbs tells us that they're doing something, okay, and it carries on happening. So we're not going to use the word leap in our sentence, we're going to use the word leaping, okay, because we're going to make it in the past. So we want it to happen. So yesterday we were leaping, or yesterday I was leaping, okay. The children leapt is our past tense. And if we're still doing it, the children were leaping, okay? Just like we said, the children were leaping, or I am leaping. I was leaping, okay? It shows that the action happened for a period of time. Or if something else happened at the same time, like in this example down here. So the children were leaping about when the teacher opened the classroom door. So it tells us the children were doing something, but something else happened at the same time. So sometimes we need to choose whether we're going to use the past tense or the progressive tense, okay? The whole class is having its best day ever. If we write that in the past tense, we would change is having into the whole class had its best day ever. And if we want it in the progressive past, it's the whole class was having its best day ever. Can you see how it's ever so slightly different? It's still happening, it's already finished and it's over. We're going to use this in our writing today. That one sounds longer. Okay. So let's have a look at an example. We're going to work through some examples together and then we're going to order a story. So if we want to change it from the present tense, she kicks the ball. We're going to change it and make it the progressive present tense. She is kicking the ball. And then we're going to change it into the past progressive. She was kicking the ball. Remember, it's is and was that are most important, and that our verbs, our regular verbs, end in ing, okay? Now it's your turn. Pause the video here. Can you change he bakes a cake into the present progressive, he something baking a cake, and then the past progressive, he baking a cake. Happening now, happened yesterday. Have a little go. Okay, let's see how you got on then. So did you get he is baking a cake and he was baking a cake? Added the ing, changed the is's and the was's. One more example then. They write a story. Okay, this one isn't a regular verb form. Okay, bit more tricky. Pause the video. Your turn. Okay, did you manage to work this one out? So we wanted to change to write to be writing, okay? But remember, we can't say they is writing a story. We have to say they are writing a story, which means we're going to change it to they were writing a story. Well done if you managed to get that. It was a bit tricky, that one. Okay, so here is our writing challenge for today. You've got a very short ghost story here, but as you can see, it's all been jumbled up. So what I'd like you to do is copy the story into your book, and I'd like you to put it in the correct order for me, okay? Now in here you will notice, hopefully, that we've got some past progressive tense, some was and ings happening, okay? So there's one here that just have a look at. He was driving quickly, okay? That's, he is continuing to do that. So you can use those to help you to put it into order. So I'm going to give you the clue that it starts with, it was a cold night in December. That's number one. It was a cold night in December. See if you can put the rest of it into order. And if you want an extra challenge today, have a think about using some different colours to underline the past progressive, was driving, yeah, and just the simple past tense, which is something like this, he stepped. Our ed endings being the simple past tense instead of our progressive, which was ing. Okay, so pause the video, pop it into the correct order, and then come back to me to check your order and you've finished. Okay, now you might have a slightly different order to me, but let's read through the story and see if you spotted those progressive verb forms and those simple verb forms. So this was my order. It was a cold, dark night in December. Justin was driving home after working late at the office. We've got was driving is our progressive form. The road was clear and he was driving quickly. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a young woman stepped out in front of him. She was wearing a long black coat and carrying a small bag. Justin stepped hard on the brake, but it was too late. He got out of the car and looked around, but there was nobody there. While he was looking around the car, he felt a strange presence that sent shivers down his spine. He was looking under his car when a truck stopped behind him. The truck driver walked up to him and asked him if he needed any help. So Justin told the man what had happened. The truck driver didn't seem surprised when Justin told him about the young woman. A young woman was killed in a car crash on this road in December 1984, he said in a mysterious tone. So hopefully you've managed to go through that story today, put it into some sort of order, and really, really well done if you managed to spot those progressive verb forms and the simple past tense verb forms that we had as well. Okay, we're going to be carrying on with this learning tomorrow. We're going to be doing our starter task on past and present, and then we're moving on to some extra work that we've got to help with our writing this week. Okay, so thank you for the listening for the writing. Remember, you've also got corrected curriculum in your pack. If you look in your work pack, remembering that we've started a brand new topic this week, we're thinking about the features of coastlines, and I want to know how the different rocks have been shaped when you go to the seaside. There's an essential task for everybody within there, which is some videos and some reading about how the coastline was formed. And then if you want to, you can show us what you've learnt about that through writing a newspaper report, doing a model, perhaps explaining a task, or even researching as well, and creating that letter to the Prime Minister. Okay, I hope you have a brilliant day today. I'll see you for more learning tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, guys.